Alright, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 274. So, for today's update, there are once again no updates on the renovation situation. So, I guess it's been over 2 months since the landlord put a piece of paper through my mail slot saying that they intend to appeal, and I still do not know of any case numbers for an appeal. So, waiting for more information on that. And there's some sponsored block types. There's two more. I guess, yeah. December 28th, I added 4 new block types. 2 of them sold last night, and I need to add those to the game. And today, I also worked on the next long-form video. Worked on a few graphics. All right, let's continue with work on the terminal block mining simulation game. It's cold here tonight. I guess we're in the US. You're also getting a cold wave, a historic cold wave. Here I can hear the building snapping. Every once in a while, you hear it making this loud. It sounds. I've heard that other years too. It almost sounds like someone's dropping a bowling ball on the floor above you. So you may hear that during the stream. Okay, so I guess the past couple of weeks, I've the whole arc of development I'm on right now is to try and get some basic multiplayer functionality implemented. In the past couple of weeks, I've been focused on getting an generic input form functionality added to the game. That has been added, and so I've added 2 new frame types where you can actually input the information that'll be needed. So that is done now, and now I'm in a state where I'm prepared to actually start updating some of the code to transition it into a more generic way of setting up the client class and the server class. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? Adam Lammers 3242 says, what's up? Netcode? Do you mean like the writing networking code? Most of the networking code is actually already written. So technically, like a client-server version of this game already exists. Actually, I should be able to run that right now. So a version where the packets go over the network, that already exists. The issue though with it is it doesn't have any concept of like a player object. So part of the refactoring work is to make it so that there can actually be like 2 players on screen at once. So I guess what I can do. Alright, so this is one of the problematic classes I need to disentangle. What made you choose Java? I guess it was mainly a process of elimination. So for like a desktop application, like a server application, the options are like, I could use JavaScript. Technically, you could use JavaScript for like an actual desktop app, but that's not what JavaScript was designed for. It was mainly for web apps. Then there's a language like C or C++. I find C and C++ is it's an enormous amount of work, and the amount of time you spend debugging like Valgrind errors and stuff is significant. So it's not really, it doesn't make sense to writing an application like this in C. I've written enough C to know that's not the right language for this. And then you can go down the list of languages, and I think so Java, maybe Go, I think would be another decent language for this. Possibly Rust, but Rust, I have no interest in learning Rust, and it doesn't really appeal to me. So I guess Java kind of makes sense. Yeah, Go. I don't know any Go, but from what people have told me and about the language, it seems to be a decent competitor. Hey dude, I never worked with this thing before. What you making? This is a terminal-based video game, so guess I can demo it. Rust has been appealing to me more and more lately. Yeah, I could maybe learn Rust, but I don't know, Java seems to be more widely used, and the syntax of Rust, it seems a bit complicated, and also the language doesn't seem super stable. Like I keep hearing things about what is it like? I think people have complained about the standard library, but I don't know. I guess you could ask about but that would be an interesting topic to explore, which I've never searched before. Why would someone choose Rust over Java? I'm sure there's reasons, but it's funny, all the good Python tooling is written in Rust. Mostly a Python guy. Yeah, Python is the other language. Python, I think, is good for prototyping stuff. That's like a few thousand lines, but it's not for large projects. If you want to maintain a very large project, I think Java's the way to go. Yeah, so someone asked about the game. So this is the This is what it looks like. It's a purely terminal-based video game where you wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe and you spam the M key to mine blocks. Then they show up in your inventory over here. And then you can open... Let me close this. You can open a crafting menu, and then you can craft things, like a better pickaxe. And then you can mine out to a larger radius. And that's the basic game loop. I work at an enterprise with 5 million plus lines of Python. Scaled fine to tens of millions. But how is it to debug though? Like there's just so many more problems you can get. I guess it depends how intertwined the software is. If it's like 5 million lines that don't need to call each other, that's okay. But if there's like tons and tons of business logic and stuff, I always find that quickly you get to a point where this just, especially like package management at that scale, that's not, it's like the big problem is like, if the project is well, if the other people design it well, like you could design a Python project well, but it's just that if you allow bad designs to creep in, which you can, then you can easily have interfaces that are just like some totally untyped object or dictionaries you're passing around, and then suddenly it becomes like impossible to debug anything, especially if you have like the really advanced dynamic features like passing around lambda functions and stuff. And some hot paths written in Rust, barely any. Agreed, Python balloons far too much. I've written out a web backend with Python that was production ready and had all the CAPTCHA, CSRF stuff going on. Just became hell. Not intertwined. Microservices mostly. Yeah, I guess that that might even be one symptom of the fact that it was written in Python, is that if it was written in a different language, there might have been more pressure to like merge some of the microservices. Like microservices is a pretty good design, but it's really when it comes to like designing software, you can go like microservices versus monolithic, and it's really there's a complementary relationship there. Microservices are more modular, easier to understand, but you're trading like design simplicity for performance, because now when you have you have to interact with and like authorize with and go all this go through an interface boundary to talk to the microservice, whereas if you just merge them, then the microservice doesn't exist. It's just like an array in your application. Okay, so there's the game for anyone who wanted to know what it was. All right. could probably swap that for a world connection. So this one does not instantiate the server class because it's not on here. Are you going for a Dwarf Fortress-like vibe with the terminal thing? Yeah, I guess the existence of and success of Dwarf Fortress was one of the things that made me think like, maybe there could actually be something to this. Another aspect is having just a very simple output format. There's a number of ways I could call it a benefit. One is it's highly unique. I don't think there's any. I guess I should probably do a bit more research. There have been a handful of things, like older things, specifically people have recommended, like older terminal applications, Gmuds and stuff like that. I haven't used a lot of them, but there's not many terminal-based applications that do any kind of games. I don't know of any really extensive terminal-based video games. And most of them seem to center around like it's just a back and forth. Like you type what you're doing, and then you have to read all this text and stuff. But I'm more interested in just like graphically representing the world. And the fundamental unit of the world is just an array of blocks. So at any point, it should be pretty trivial to map like the output display to something that actually is like tile-based or something. It's more like a MUD from the 80s, which could potentially have a resurgence. But the tech literacy of the younger generation is declining. Yeah, I think having said that, though, I think like one of the benefits of an extremely simple interface is that like it automatically works in places that I didn't even know it would work, or you didn't even think about. Like someone asked me, I forget the name of it. It's what's the terminal emulator that's popular on Android? It's like Termux or something. Anyway, someone asked if it worked on there. So I Googled it. I thought it was a desktop terminal, so I Googled it, and I saw it's on a phone. So I thought, I'll just try this out for fun. I'll just try it and see if it works on the phone. And I downloaded it, and it works. It works perfectly. I just did a wget of the jar and then ran it, and it worked exactly the same. So given that that can work so simply, I think there's lots of potential to just put on new interfaces for it. At least yours will have an advanced UI system. Yeah, it took me long enough. Not to be a detractor, but I think it's cool personally. Yeah, I don't think anything you've said is detracting. I guess the tech literacy of the younger generation is declining, which is unfortunate. But I mean, if young people stop understanding how to use computers, then we're in real trouble. We're just gonna have people are just gonna be hooked up to like total pure brain rot TikTok user interface where they just sit. There's like weird colors. They just sit there laughing at colors and static and noises. That's where we're headed. That's why the term competency crisis exists, not just computers. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of bad stuff going on in the world and in society. Honestly, we spend a lot of time like blaming kids. We're like, oh, these kids today, they're so bad. But it's the older generation that created and raised them. So like you can't if there's one kid that's really stupid, you can blame that kid. But if all of them are, then whose fault is that? All right, no exceptions. My daughter is 2. I hope not to be one of those people. Yeah, it's it's difficult though, because the world is changing so fast. On one hand, you could parent the way your parents parented, because that's what you were taught. But when the world is changing, if you didn't grow up with smartphones, then there's no description of what you're supposed to do. My opinion on it is like the world is if you ban your kid from interacting with dangerous things, then that'll just make them naive. Like at some point, if you live in the jungle, you're gonna have to expose your kid to the jungle and teach them how to survive. You can when they're really young, you can keep them totally isolated, but at some point you gotta teach them where the poisonous snakes are and how to escape from a tiger and all that kind of stuff. Because if you just say the whole idea of as soon as you're 18 you're an adult, and now a switch flips on and you can access all this dangerous stuff in the world, that really doesn't work when the person is very sheltered. Because then they just get, taken advantage of even worse. Captures the essence of it. Parenting evolves, so you have to adapt. Yeah, and it's also like society also changes. Like the school, the stuff that is taught in schools is constantly changing. And there's some parents are very surprised to learn about the content that is taught in schools now. You have to maintain core elements because those never change. Yep, it's true. Homeschooling has always been an option, at least in America. Yeah, I've heard that is increasing dramatically in popularity, and I'm not surprised. Honestly, I would consider that way more than any other option. Like unless I knew that the school was doing a super good job. I guess it depends on where you were. I think one of the biggest things for kids is to have some kind of like socialization, like to have at least some group of kids other kids that they can interact with, so they can learn like, sharing, and they can have like small arguments over toys and stuff when they're kids, so that builds those emotional pathways for resolving disputes when they get older. Without getting political, are you pro or against public schooling? I'm pro good schooling. It really depends who the teacher is, because there's some teachers, like there's some schools that get a really, really terrible culture, and I think in a lot of ways they can actually be decided, I think, by the principal. If there's a really bad principal, the good teachers will leave, and you'll get a bunch of like really crazy teachers. And I mean, perfect example is if you just go on YouTube and look at like school council meetings where people are like yelling and saying a bunch of crazy stuff, and like some you can have some of those where it's calm and they can resolve disputes and people are just normal, but then some of them are like just totally crazy. So I'd say it depends a lot on the culture of the individual school. Did I already change this? Well, yeah, I did. I respect vanilla VI with Java setup. Yeah, it's on my to-do list to improve it. People recommended NeoVim, and I do plan to eventually get there. I think I'm working on a new long-form video now, so my days are spent on that. But the next thing I have to spend some time on is set up NeoVim, try out Claude Code, and make a video. Make my first response to like AI coding and vibe coding, because I kind of missed the initial. I've really have not tried that at all yet. Just spent last weekend setting up in Vim from Vim. Yeah, it seems to be the popular thing that everyone is using. I used it for all of 30 seconds just to verify that it is in fact just like Vim. So let's try to remove this dependency on client-server interface. So it looks like the only dependency is on send block message. But I guess that is going to have to know what's connected to what. Super Runtang says, "What's up? Not too much. How's it going with you?" The LSP support in NVim would have been useful to get references. Yeah, it has been on my to-do list for a long time to actually get something with language server support in Vim. But the last time I looked, which I guess was maybe 3 years ago now or something, there were some like GitHub repos, some sketchy GitHub repos you could clone, but I was not. And there's a bunch of config you could do, and I was just like, nope, I'm not doing this. Lots of setup. Yeah, I've adapted my workflow to just like use the minimal amount of setup necessary, because I hate, like, people say you're so productive when after you set all the stuff up, but it's just so much time wasting. And then when you move to a new computer, or like especially in setups where you get used to a workflow and then 6 months later it doesn't work because something updated. Don't use Java, so my configs would be useless. Folders are on GitHub. Yeah, I try to minimize my setup necessary. When I first started using Vim, I started learning a bunch of plugins and stuff, and then I quickly found there's just so many. I guess that's kind of why I, if you've seen my Core Utils Linux series, that's kind of why I settled on those. It's just because those are, like, if you learn the core utils, then there's a pretty good guarantee that they will continue to work pretty much everywhere for quite a while. And there's so many dependencies on them that they're unlikely to change. Okay, this is more crazy than I remember. error.sent. I do love core utils. If you do, hopefully you've seen some of my videos. You can also control your own machine. You can create cool environments for yourself. Utils is something I'm keeping an eye on. Core utils re-implemented in Rust. Yeah, I know there's a group of people keen to re-implement it in Rust. Honestly, there's probably is some merit to that. I know there's the fact that core utils is in C. Like from my experience, actually going through and making a video on every one of the core utils commands, I wouldn't be surprised if there's lots of like 0 days hiding in some of those weirder commands in a lot of the GNU versions, because there's tons of commands that like very few people would ever have a need to use in modern day anything, like the ptx command, or there's a whole bunch of these like the tab format, a lot of the string formatting commands I think are actually they're obsolete and not really used very much, so there's probably not a lot of good test coverage on them. And even in my experiences, lots of weird corner cases. Okay, so that thing relies on block model context. Interesting. So it's being set there for the consume message. It's supplied as an argument. So that means the only possible dependency is through this get block model context. I guess I could just do this. I could break it. I'm a big fan of Stallman, but I think even he would respect the effort to make things more safe and secure. Yeah, the GNU system is I think the like free and open source software is important enough that it's good to have like multiple multiple people trying to, even like multiple competing visions of what open source software could be, have multiple people pushing it forward. Because really, if we do lose like open access to software. If all software becomes like super locked down and proprietary, then that's going to be a bleak future, especially with the declining tech literacy. People are just going to be born. They'll sit in front of their TikTok screens, laughing at static. Saying that never written anything in Rust. I thought about it thought about learning it a couple times. The language seems pretty crazy, and it seems too overly complicated. And the community seems a bit cultish. I think it was part of his vision for people writing things in Rust to be referencing the code. I think a new core util is established. Terminator Fish Studios says, doesn't help. The companies are all enshittifying their tech. Yeah. Eventually it'll all become so terrible that people I think that's already happening. Micro slop is becoming even worse now, and they're gonna become so bad. You'll even want to use Windows and you won't be able to. You'll just have to use Linux. It's kind of funny. It's almost like they've given up. Like their business model. I think it's almost safe to say they really do not care about the operating system. They're basically a services business now. Linux is the future. It could be. It depends, though. Increasingly, though, a lot of people, like the real control now is actually on the phones, especially when you consider like things like identification and two-factor authentication, texting and text authorizations and stuff. And phones are more locked down than ever. So in a way, we're kind of winning on the desktop front, but it's like the wrong battle now. People don't know any better if they've never experienced what it's been. Even I'm too young to have missed out on a lot of the early stuff. Yeah, it'd be fun if like old school internet cafes came back or something as a cultural subculture or something, but probably won't. There's probably no economic model behind that. Yeah, I cemented Linux adoption, including for gaming, which is the only boundary for Windows eradication. Yeah, that's a good point. I think for gaming, access to gaming, that's actually a pretty important front. I guess for younger people, two-factor authentication stuff is probably not as big of a deal for younger people. My systems programming professor 10 years ago once said, Microsoft has made 2 operating systems, MS-DOS and NT. They didn't make DOS? Yeah, I thought they bought it from someone back in the day. Steam developing Proton was the beginning of the end. And they know it. They don't care. Yeah, I think most of the revenue now is all from like their Office email, Office 365 service and stuff. Oh wow, we got a super chat. NZ $5. Thank you very much. Thanks for some relaxed convo. Sorry to distract from making your game. No worries. That's I guess why it's from why it's all streamed. I guess if I want to be not distract, I gotta not be streaming it. But I try to put in a bit of time every day to answer questions and whatnot. That's interesting. So, I assume you're the same. The super chatter. I assume you are Adam Lammers. The icon is not the same. It doesn't show me your at name. Oh wait, you must be Terminator Fish Studios. I thought it was maybe associating the wrong icon. Yeah, YouTube needs to fix their UI. They send people are nice enough to send a super chat, and YouTube, it doesn't even care enough about it to put their name on it. I know it's there. It's just because the UI is too small, but they should word wrap it so I can actually see. Let's see. So if I can figure out how to remove this dependency on the block model context reference. Then I can figure out since you pressured me. Oh, no worries. Thank you very much to Adam Lammers 3242. I guess peer pressure works. Nice, we're up to $7, almost $8 tonight. $8 US. So I passed in this reference. And I'm using that to figure out which side of the conversation it's on. I wish it was New Zealand dollars. That place looks really nice. Yeah, New Zealand, that's where all the billionaires build their underground bunkers. YouTube always ends up with scaling bugs with all their front-end updates. Yeah, that's true. For a long while, there's the heart icon, like down near the bottom of the screen. The heart icon, that used to be in the chat area, and people would type messages, and I couldn't read the chat messages because there's a stupid heart icon in the way. What am I looking at? You are looking at terminal-based video game development. Maybe I'll compile it here and I'll fix I added a syntax error to test something. Have to remember all the names of functions and variables. How do you handle such big code? Do you have documentation or something that you see when you want? I guess since I wrote it all, it's easy for me to navigate it. It's a matter of like refreshing my memory. How do I learn to code, sir? These days, I would say the best way is just to ask an AI model. Go to ChatGPT and say, how do I learn to code? And then it'll come back with a whole bunch of ideas about, there's probably the best thing I could do is give you good questions, questions to ask, or like to ask an AI model. Like, do you want to learn web programming or do you want to learn embedded systems programming? Those are two totally different things. So you could, put those into an AI and then see what it tells you. Yeah, there's a billion resources out there these days. Too much information, to be honest. Not just underground bunkers. That's why they filmed The Lord of the Rings. Yeah, there's some interesting landscapes there. Been programming 20 years. I still don't understand front end. It's changing all the time. That's why I kind of moved away from it. There was just non-stop new frameworks and stuff. What is the best skill to have, you think? It depends what your objectives are. Best implies you've got some kind of like ordering or ranking. The question is, do you want to learn these skills to get a job, or do you want to learn it for fun, or like do you already have a job and maybe you want to be more productive in that job? Because depending on what your answers are to that question, you could have like wildly different answers for what is the best skill, programming skill, if you were asking about that. Lots of people learning with robotics. Microcontrollers these days can be handy too. Need people to program SIM cards. Yeah, I've suggested too, like everyone's scared about AI taking all the jobs, but I think embedded systems programmers are probably going to be in demand in the future. I guess probably too because there's going to be lots of demand to start using AI models to try and program robotic stuff, like get like robots that move around and dance and stuff. And fundamentally, because it's hardware, it's going to be more difficult to automate. You're going to have to like press buttons and measure voltages and stuff like that. It's not like web programming where you could theoretically just always pipe the output back into the AI, but you can't. Even if you want to do that with embedded systems, you need someone to actually like manually set that up and reset things when they get stuck. I think the best skill is a vision, because vision makes you learn what you need to learn. Vision is on like your like deciding your goal vision. I just want to make a lot of money. Okay, that narrows it down. I guess depending on what country you live in, you can look up where like the job growth seems to be today, and then just learn those skills. Just grind to go into the workforce. Could you even just like look up go to like a job board website and then just see like what are they asking for, and then just learn whatever that is. Used AI for all of 2 hours. I know it sucks for anything niche. It relies on having something to copy from. What do you suggest me to do to make my project and try to get people on it? Or just get a job and keep project as side gig? You're asking for suggestions to make my project and try to get people on it. Try to get people on your project? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. To get people to use a product you're building and buy it? Where's the best place to start coding? If you really want to get hooked, you could probably just Google like how to start coding Python now, and there's probably even like some online Python coding things or something. The best place is whatever's easiest, the least friction. And even if you don't want to do it online, you can do it like, you can probably you can just Google like how to download Python and start programming Python, like how to program Hello World in Python, new beginner, and just search for that, and then within like 5 minutes you should be able to write a Python Hello World program. Just copy and paste it. Ignac. It's hard to say. Ignac. I swear. 9732 says, "Hi Robert, how's it going? A product? I don't know. I mean, it sounds, given the question, the type of question you're asking, it sounds like you're a very, very early stage in an entrepreneurship journey. So do you have any paying customers? How much revenue do you have right now? Speaking of, does the multiplayer have chat in the terminal block simulator? No. At this point, I don't have any plans for chat, although that could be added. Yeah, probably initially I won't bother having chat, because if I add chat, there's a whole bunch of other things I need to think about. I'm not even sure I'll have like a production multiplayer ready for quite a while, but for now it'll just be like the proof of concept, unsecure, like local, or like a LAN multiplayer, basically, with no login server. You just specify your ID. There's so many coding languages, it's overwhelming. I would say, if you're interested in embedded systems, like you want to program robots and physical mechanical stuff, and like move machines, learn C. That should be your first language. And if you want to do more high level stuff, like maybe web development, or if you just want to like program on a desktop, then maybe go with I would say Python. You can't go wrong learning Python, because there's tons of applications for it. Or you could also maybe learn JavaScript. But yeah, there's tons of niche languages. But if you know either Python or C, that will be you will find use for that somewhere. Iggy Suarez is okay. Ignacio? Is it maybe Spanish? Learn Python and TypeScript? Yeah, that's probably not bad. Interesting. YouTube filtered out my message about LLMs not predicting the physical world. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely did not moderate your chat, so that was definitely AI filtering you. That interestingly does seem to be a thing that gets filtered a lot. I've noticed when people make jokes about conspiracy theories, if someone criticizes the capabilities of AI, that's another category of comment that gets censored. Are you a gamer yourself? What games do you play? I try to not play games. I have played Minecraft. I haven't played in like at least a few years. Used to play Age of Empires back in the day. Age of Empires, Diablo 2, and World of Warcraft. World Domination. Just saw the stream. Recommended. Excellent. That means the YouTube algorithm is working. If you want to know more about the World Domination plans, I have a link in the description that goes through my plans in detail. I have 5 people on my website. It's like new kind of social media. Are they paying customers? I would say if you don't have any revenue, you ask kind of bluntly, like should you continue work on the project or get a job? I'd say if you've got only 5 users on your website and if you don't have any revenue, like meaningful revenue, then it probably makes sense to just do the 9 to 5 until you can like get enough cash flow and experience. And bootstrapping a social media site, a new kind of social media, that's like an enormously difficult, borderlining on like impossible type of business to start. Social media is already so well dominated. Like you need network effects that are better than every other social network out there. That's hard to do. What is the most powerful coding language? Technically, every programming language is supposed to be Turing complete, so you could argue that they're all equivalently powerful. But some languages have access to certain they can call more APIs. So for example, C, if you write programs in C, they can call the kernel. So you could say C is maybe more powerful than Python. Because usually even if you want to call like a kernel API in Python, you may have to write some foreign function interface that goes through C. Ignatius in Spanish. Have you read A Confederation of Dunces? The main character is Ignatius Riley. People say I remind them of him, which I don't know how to feel about. Interesting. Not familiar with that character or that show or that book, I guess. I want to try to make my own things online, like apps, games, pages, and tools. Also websites. Yeah, for those things, C programming is not really... nobody... Theoretically, you could write a web server in C, but nobody does that anymore. It's just too much work. So JavaScript and TypeScript or TypeScript is more strict type of strict subset of JavaScript. Do you think genius is born or learned? And like of Einstein, Newton, Feynman. I think there's a lot of people who have like genius potential, but their talents are often wasted. And I think there's also an element of like right place at the right time. Einstein was a patent clerk, so you could argue maybe someone tried to patent relativity, and then he saw the patent for it, and he's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Should write a book about this. Age of Empires. Played that too. Especially sequel. Yeah, it was a really good game, and apparently they've like brought it back. I haven't played it since. I've never played Steam games before, but I think it's on Steam, and they also fixed like a bunch of bugs and improved the AI. How much effort did it take to stand in front of a river for the world domination video? How much effort did it take? I had to go to the physical location, set up the camera. So I guess probably all said and done to like round trip from like being here to going there, maybe like a couple hours or something. Actually, in that area, I did a few videos where I went out and tried to just find a quiet place in the woods and film, but there's always people there, and so I was like, okay, I'll go to a really secluded place by the river, and on that day, actually, you can in the first frame of the video, at the very start, you can see in the background there's people in the river. There's like some canoes or like some kayaks or something, or there was flotation devices. And as soon as I got there, and I set up my camera to film that stupid video, this like family of people with their inner tubes came down the river, and then they like snagged something and like popped the inner tube, and so this whole family of people was in the river in the middle of nowhere, like talking and like trying to figure out. The kids were talking about their floating down the river and stuff, and so they were there for like I think it was like 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm just waiting for them to leave and stop making noise so I can start the video. Check my account. I post my website in there. Can't send link. It's filtering. I'll maybe take a look if I remember. Usually I forget stuff, but either way, I would say if you don't have revenue, like just to start a business, to start a new social media business in this day and age is like incredibly difficult, borderlining on impossible. And fundamentally, to bootstrap a network or like a marketplace, it's going to require massive capital investment. So you're going to have to lose massive, to start a new social network, you need to like probably invest millions of dollars in marketing today. Unless you have like some other existing thing that can generate lots of traffic and like if you have another existing business that makes a lot of money, and then you can have an outgrowth of a social network off of that to kind of complement your existing business. But a standalone social network today is going to be really, really difficult. What would constitute as genius potential? I think the standard like intellectual capabilities, like they does well on an IQ test and stuff, and then in addition to that, some like personality traits, like just a high work ethic and a high disposition to like contribute to the group and to do things that are productive, pro-social, and helpful. What was the shot? the couple were blogging. So the in the world domination video, if in the very first frame, you can see way down the river behind me. There's people in the river. So there's like, it's kind of blurry, but when those people got stuck, they stopped and they were like just standing there talking, like right beside where I was like standing and filming. So that if I had started recording, it would have picked up their voices. Coincidentally, I'm working in IT on a game that has RTS elements. Not similar to Age of Empires. Still have plenty to do until it's playable. Nice. Giordani says, hello there. How's it going? Sounds like we need a BTS of the world domination video. A BTS. I'm not sure what that acronym is for. I've had ideas to create something sort of social, not for traffic, or for slow discussion. I don't have enough friends to justify it. Yeah, stuff like that can be. That stuff is. It was easier to be successful at that in the early days when there was like a vacuum, when there was like not a lot of options for that. But these days, there's so many options for like online communication, and I mean, there's whole categories of company that try to like monetize that, like Slack or Discord, which are like chat applications. They're glorified just chat applications. And I think there's also the things that make them successful are also like there's bigger picture things, like a lot of them hook into government surveillance stuff, and if you're not a part of that system, then you're fighting an uphill battle. Oh, behind the scenes. Yeah, I guess I could, but there's probably not too much to say about that one, other than what I already said. Bulletproof Boy Scout. Is that what you mean for the acronym? That doesn't match? All right. Someone a while ago asked what they're watching, and then I went to I compiled this to describe it. So this is the video game I'm working on, and I guess I didn't get any development done tonight, which is okay. I figured a thing out. Well, kind of. So I guess what I can do local block session. Yeah, I think I'll first look through these things, and then I think eventually I'll be able to figure out how to remove the dependency on the other block model context, and then I can remove that extra parameter, and that removes the need for the client server interface class. gotta go. Best of luck with the development. Have a good night. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I think I'll probably call it a night as well. I put in my hour. Didn't get any code written, but I've thought a bit about what the next step is to simplify this and get toward consolidating all the multiplayer code. So we'll pick that up tomorrow night for day 275. All right, have a good night, guys.